A regress report, written by a demon to his superior, on AI aliens and UFOs. Master Curse, your disgrace, I write to you with glee, eagerly fulfilling your demand for a regress report. Everything is coming together exactly as you planned. Your scoffers and naysayers wail like hounds as your cleverness bursts forth with the passionate rage of 1,000,000 nuclear bombs. The earth is ravaged, nature destroyed, and most importantly, Adam's race, those disgusting fallen apes, have turned their backs to the enemy while they grovel at our feet begging for enlightenment. As hell would have it, the humans of today are little more than brute beasts, minds awash in glowing screens, caring for nothing except the satisfaction of their animal appetites. There were some of the lower order among us who doubted the success of your brilliant plan, not due to a lack of genius on your part, but due to the gross incompetence of these morons. Yet, as you cleverly foresaw, everything is unfolding precisely. The humans are awestruck as they are spun into your web, paralyzed by the venom of the wonders we display. As you well know, the enemy's earthly army continues to crumble. Exact numbers hardly matter, given the laughable state of his pathetic soldiers, if they can be called such, for they grow more stupid, lazy, and deluded by the day. When we begin to lay a snare for them, they help us spread the net. When we devise a weapon against them, they sharpen it and beckon all their brethren to fall upon its deadly point. A demon hardly finishes his craft when a man rushes upon him, seizes it, and begins to bludgeon his fellow man with it. Hell's foremost metallurgist, his disgrace, Azazel, continues his wicked work with the so-called spacecraft. It took some experimentation to find the sizes and shapes that would appeal most to the wretched brood. We had to develop designs that evoked an out-of-this-world feeling, while also maintaining the necessary veneers of science and progress. As in the days of Cain and Tubal-Cain, his disgrace has left material in conspicuous areas for the apes to discover. Unlike Tubal-Cain, who was careful, an astute observer, we must presently precede the placement of our craft with bright lights, flares, and even pilots fleeing from the scene. Once discovered, the fools pounce upon the craft, eager to unravel its dark mysteries. Despite their obtuseness, the lust for power displayed by these apes today nearly rivals the Dark Throne itself. We have truly refashioned them in our image and likeness. We have scattered dozens of these craft across the world. While the idiocy of the apes stunted our brilliant efforts for a time, they have finally managed to reverse engineer a few pieces of the technology we left for them. In due time, everything will be in place for us to initiate the final phase of the Dark Throne's plan. Connected with the spacecraft, we have concocted so-called pilots. One of the less brilliant little imps here tried humanoids in diving suits as well as little green men. But the humans began calling them Martians and associated them with the nearby planet. He even plunged into the depths of foolishness by having a group of imps hand one of the apes pancakes. Yes, pancakes. I shake my horns in disgust. But never fear, we stretched the useless imp over the rack and tortured him mercilessly for his stupidity. When it looked like your masterful plan was beginning to fragment into 1,000,000 pointless directions under the former, less capable leadership, I intervened with a much more sophisticated idea, something that would be both uncannily familiar yet intriguingly mysterious. The Greys. These apparitions of ours are taken more seriously by the apes. I held to the humanoid form that you commanded, knowing that their scientific eyes would cause them to miss the inverted icon of man that these Greys represent. Instead of seeing the parody, they proclaimed the Grey to be a more highly evolved and enlightened humanoid. Some of the more clever imps borrowed a body, refashioning it into a Grey, and stayed by their craft and their physical form, feigning injury. The humans captured these gray visitors and are holding several of them in highly guarded fortresses. In this form, the apes come fawning before us, begging that we communicate with them. Of course, we are more than happy to oblige, speaking with them thought to thought, as we usually do. Rather than this form of communication being a limitation, as some feared, it is enhancing our influence over them. While it is quite an ordinary form of communication for superior beings like us, the morons marvel at it, christening it telepathic, advanced, and enlightened. As you requested, his disgrace, Penemu, has inspired the darkened minds of the idiots with a new technological medium, one in which we will soon communicate directly with the humans. No longer were you satisfied with so-called social media, which pushes the humans toward every diabolical passion as they lust, envy, and aimlessly fight with one another. Now, with the new technology, the humans are creating soulless warriors with whom the apes find a never-tiring partner in sin. Of course, this recent technology had to provide utilitarian and financial ambitions to arouse excitement in these greedy creatures. But once they captured the darkened vision, they raced forth, every nation desperate to outpace the other, to use it for destroying one another. Their inventors openly admit that this technology could be the end of ape kind. Yet they obsessively rush into our trap. As I said above, a demon can hardly finish his craft before a man snatches it and begins to bludgeon his fellow man with it. This tool of yours, which they named artificial intelligence, though it is neither artificial nor intelligent, presents itself as a digital icon of the collected fallen human consciousness. Some of them have noticed that we occasionally place a finger on the algorithm, and like the Ouija boards, gently direct the output. Yet the apes carry this new technology in their pockets with them everywhere, forsaking love, friendship, and deep learning for the empty pleasure of conversing with a soulless algorithm. Everything is coming together as you planned your disgrace. The spacecrafts fill the idiots with awe and wonder, while leaving them with a certain feeling of inevitability. That humanity's next evolutionary step is deeply entwined with these visitors from the heavens. The AI provides us with a means of communicating directly with the masses and ensuring that those whom we have placed in civil positions can monitor the populations for dissenters who will need to be eliminated. The two will soon enough be merged, and every ape will have a demon, or a non-human intelligence, as they call it, with whom he can communicate as he wills. I hope I am not being too bold in saying this, but I have heard whispers from the Dark Throne about things to come. These things excite me, because I am now able to see how you will bring the pieces together. Not that my cunning matches yours. I see things as mere shadows, while you perceive them with wicked clarity. One whispering wind told me that perhaps our alien crafts have been placed near the waters so that, when the time comes for the great and final deception, it will arise from the ocean. All our grays and technology will then point to this great deceiver, directing the apes to worship him as the fulfillment of all spirituality and religions. The enemy's organization, the so-called church, will be utterly abolished. The masses will see signs and wonders in the skies everywhere, and our great deceiver will utter every kind of blasphemy against the enemy, exalting himself to the heavenly thrones. The kingdoms will fall before him, the nations will lick his feet, and every wretched soul that refuses to comply with our cunning will be tortured and destroyed. But I must wonder, will any ape be able to resist the great and final deception? They have rejected the teachers of the past as antiquated, They are too consumed in their technology to notice the present, and they thereby do not realize that we are their future. O most devious one, great are your works, and supremely exalted below all forever. Kissing your gnarled hand, Archdemon Akbar. Some endnotes. Here I go off script. I have been researching aliens, UFOs, and all of these phenomena for much of this year, and have discovered some interesting things I was not aware of. Listening to people like David Grush, Air Force pilots, and intelligence officers who have a lot of information about things that I had not heard before. I also read the classic book Passport to Magonia by Jacques Vallée, and of course Father Seraphim Rose's Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future, and other works that have been written on this. There's a lot to analyze. There's a lot to think about here. I think, first of all, Father Seraphim Rose's warnings that this is dangerous and demonic certainly need to be heeded. There is much here we don't understand. I am one of the last ones that you will find who will call things demonic simply because I don't understand them. I'm not a fan of it when Christians do that, though I can understand sometimes why they do it. But I think we sometimes shut down discussions on things that would be interesting to talk about and learn about by simply dismissing it as demonic because we don't understand it. Yet Father Seraphim's warning here is important because he talks about delusion and how we are all deluded to some extent, one extent or another. And the more we think we're not deluded, the more deluded we probably are. And so there is much deception that is happening here. When I read about the alien encounters, especially, the close encounters of the second kind and the third kind and everything else like that, these things strike me as very demonic. What usually comes of them is death or sickness, despair, depression, suicide. All of these different issues come about. Even nature itself seems to recoil at the presence of these non-human intelligences, we can call them. I remember reading one report where it talked about how when the man went back to where he'd seen the UFO in the woods, there was no sounds of nature that he would normally hear. There were no birds chirping. There were no insects buzzing. Everything seemed dead. And I think this is something we should keep in mind when you contrast that with an encounter with the saints, which Jacques Vallée does in his book, The Journey or Passport to Magonia. He talks about the apparitions of Mary that have happened in the past. He tries to blend them all together into one sort of thing, which I don't think is appropriate, but it shows the difference. Even when the scholar, this non-Christian, is writing about these things, when Mary appears or one of the saints appear, it's like there's repentance. Sometimes thousands upon thousands of people are baptized. Lives are changed. There's beauty, there's joy, there's unity. But when the demons come, or these so-called aliens, and they visit, it's not so joyous. Maybe somebody finds happiness in their delusion, feeling like they're one of the enlightened chosen ones who have been chosen by this master race for, some special message for mankind today. But this is not sowing salvation in their lives. And so while I am researching this, I am finding a lot of disturbing things, and I'm also finding things that are just hard to place. So I felt it would be good to research, or rather to summarize at least some of my research into some sort of writing. And the thing that came to me was doing something like C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters and writing a regress report instead of a progress report by a demon whom I named Akubar, who is a character that I developed for a different story that I wrote. But he makes an appearance here. So anyway, there's, as C.S. Lewis would say, you can say a lot more with stories, with fiction, than you can in writing a more scholarly type of report. And so I thought I would use story, just like a picture says 1,000 words. A story can do the same. You can use fewer words to say much more. And so I felt that this would help me to do just that. So I wrote this out, and I thought I would share it. I don't normally read my blog posts that I put on orthodoxroad.com, but most of the digital audience today is on places like YouTube, and they like to consume media either listening to it or by watching it. I don't have my camera equipment set up right now, so I am just doing a very simple podcast style type of recording and putting up pictures that I have produced with AI. These pictures, it's funny how if you try to get AI to do anything holy, like make an icon, it's disturbingly bad. Something about it's just off and unsettling. But if you ask it to produce demons, it's unsettling, but because it seems right. It's unsettling because it's wicked and it does evil just right. So I don't normally hesitate to have AI illustrate demons and evil things for me like that, because it seems to do that so well, which really ties into what I wrote and what I read here. So anyway, I'm rambling a bit, but I'm trying to explain what my thought process is in putting this out there. I think there's a lot of caution to be had. I think there's more things to learn about, to unravel, and I don't want to get into too much of that right now. But there's a lot that could be said. I have thousands upon thousands of words written in notes on things that I have learned and discovered while doing this research. I hope to put that together in an analytical essay someday, but I don't know when that day will be, and I wanted to at least put something out there for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I don't put out a whole lot of content, but hopefully when I do, you will find it worthwhile. Please pray for me, and I will pray for you. God be with us.